Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Pop Culture Galaxy podcast. I'm Mark Bridge, and I'm here with Zach Wargener.
That's me.
And you're gonna have to forgive me because I'm just getting over a cold, so I might be coughing a time or two. But the show must go on, right?
And you'll have to thank me for having a new audio profile on account of my new Blue Yeti X microphone.
Nice. Yeah,
Thank you, Blue.
yeah. It does sound nice. Does sound nice. So in the comments below, let us know what you think of his voice now that he is upgraded in style. Um, but yeah, so we're continuing with our James Bond retrospective, and this film is For Your Eyes Only. This is Roger Moore's sixth,
Fifth.
fifth. Okay, fifth time as Bond. Oh yeah, he has two more to go, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And John Glenn's first, right? This is first.
Yep.
First,
First of like five in a row.
Yeah.
We're in the John Glenn era of Bond right now.
Yeah, so he was notable for being the film editor on a number of Bond films before, and then he upgraded. So yeah, that's good on him. Um, there's for a long time, right? I know there was a Bond film that the credit sequence was a music video, and I couldn't for the life of me remember which one. For some time, I actually thought it was Living Daylights with what's her name? I can't believe I'm forgetting her name. Gladys
No,
Knight. Gladys
no,
Knight.
that's License to Kill.
Oh, License. No,
Living Daylights
oh
is
yeah. Yeah. No, so I thought it was License to Kill that there was a video like showed in the credit sequence, and then when I saw the movie a long time ago, I was like, "This is not it." So I'm trying to remember which one. I knew one of them had a music video at the beginning. Turns out it's this one, Sheena Easton. For your eyes only. They just threw her in there.
Yeah, when they found her, they were like, "Oh my God, she's so gorgeous. We got to put her in the titles." And
Yeah,
she was
man.
like, "Okay, why
Yeah,
not?"
yeah. This is the only movie that does it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty creative. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
hmm
hey, let's just make a music video.
it works.
Yeah. And of course, lots of boobies. Hey, the amount of I think this movie had more boobies in it than any other ones before it. Like, including in scenes, like, they're not even trying to hide the thing. Like, it's like, oh my God. Yeah, there were wall to wall boobages. There was the scene where Bond visits the Spanish hitman dude, and he had the models, and one of them, like, she was just making out with this dude, and it was like, wait, is that a nipple? And the court, what is it? She's not a baroness. What is it? Her
The Countess,
yeah, countess. When
Mrs. Brosnan.
yeah, yes. Um, is he still married to her? No, right?
No, she died
Oh,
very tragically, and then he remarried.
right,
Um,
right.
but no, they were married at the time,
Yeah, yeah,
but then she passed suddenly.
yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, like you got a glimpse of her as well, but it was like real quick. Like Kara was like, okay, I'm telling you, man, HD can't escape him. Can't escape him. All right, so let's get on. All right, so here's my. You might be disappointed with me, Zach.
Didn't love it.
Maybe because like I try to pay attention when I'm watching movies in general, but once in a while there'll be a time where maybe the movie will watch me. It's just probably that. But even then, I still manage to kind of like pick up on certain things. So I don't know, like the plot for this movie was a little bit. Maybe it's just me, but it was a little bit like I have to like, okay, why? Who's that dude again? Okay, and
There's a
who's that?
lot. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, you don't really know who the main, and I think because the main villain doesn't look like a villain, it looks like a regular dude. It's hard to really like who's the bad guy in this. Like the most recognizable person in the bad guy cast, because I just know him so well as a bad guy, is Charles Dance. I'm like, wait, is that Charles Dance? What the hell? And he has no lines in this movie. I tell you, man, pay his dues.
Yeah, it's a different time.
Right, so for people who don't know who Charles Dance is, he is Tywin Lannister in Game of Thrones, and he's also in Last Action Hero, the guy with the weird eye, whatever. Yeah, so he's around a lot, but yeah, I was like, wait, that's Charles Dance. I had to look it up for a second. It was like, oh yeah, that is Charles Dance in that movie. It's pretty cool, um, but yeah, it was hard to, I guess, follow along. I mean, okay, I got it. It was like the ATAC, I guess, is so the whole thing is a
The Commodore 64.
yeah.
Like.
It's a an important gadget that I guess hosts launch codes or something, and if it basically it's for the British, and the vessel that it was on sunk. The Russians figured out, or was it Russians?
Yeah,
Yeah, Russians, because it's a Cold War. It was a Cold War during the Cold War. Yeah.
Yeah, this is actually the only time where he goes up against the KGB.
Yeah.
Like, for all of the talk about Bond being distinctly Cold War,
Yeah.
they
yeah.
made an effort from the beginning to avoid seeming dated in hindsight.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For all the good that did them, even when this is the only time he actually goes up against the KGB.
Yeah.
Where they're
yeah.
usually like renegades. Like we'll see in Octopussy, there's a rogue general.
Mm-hmm.
But
mm-hmm.
like the reason why the story is this way was because Roger Moore wasn't originally going to be in it. He kind of was like, all right, I'm done after Moonraker.
Yeah.
And they had a kind of a casting call for Bonds, and Pierce Brosnan was in contention to be in it.
Mm-hmm.
And Timothy Dalton was even cast, I believe, and the script was written with him in mind.
Right.
But then he dropped out for whatever reason, or maybe Roger Moore was just like, you know what? Actually, I want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he and maybe he was drawn to the fact that the script was so different.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the best thing about Bond is that it always bounces back and forth, between the two extremes of being like, laid back and silly and fun.
Yeah.
And like comparatively much darker.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the first time in a long time that we've seen that kind of On Her Majesty's Secret Service type
Yeah.
Bond. And there's also a lot of homage to that movie in here.
Yeah.
From the credit scene to the, anytime Bond skis,
Mm-hmm.
it's an OHMSS reference.
Yeah.
And this is some great skiing, and done, in fact, I believe, by some of the same stuntmen who worked on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was during the movie I suddenly came to a realization that the pros of the Daniel Craig era of movies where it's all about realism. I mean, yes, it kind of started here, well, on Our Majesty's Secret Service, but then it went crazy and then it dialed it back for this movie. One of the things I would say is the sort of like thing that the Craig films don't have to necessarily worry about is one-upping themselves in terms of like big things just getting bigger and bigger, because like while watching this movie I realized I've seen that sequence before. I've seen that. I mean, when I say I've seen it in that kind of setting. They're obviously trying to do different things in that setting. For instance, we've seen aerial sequences before in the Bond movies, and if the movie opens with the aerial sequence with the helicopter, and Blofeld just has that one off, I guess. That was
we've got an aerial sequences, but nothing like,
yeah,
let's just do crazy tricks with a helicopter and film it.
Yeah, so it's like they're saying, okay, we've done all this stuff, but let's do them, and let's just do them crazier. Right, we've had car chase sequences multitudes of times, but let's put it on a narrow street in Spain or wherever that was. And instead of it being like, the hottest cars out there, it's a freaking, I don't know if is that a buggy or something like that.
It's something like that. I think the idea for a lot of this movie was like, let's do Roger Moore Bond, but let's strip it down in a way that is more evocative of the Connery era, but like with still with that humor and lighter touch of Roger Moore. So like the car chase is a perfect example.
Yeah.
Where it's like he's in a car, but there's no gadgets on it.
Yeah.
But they can still drive, and beat up the bad guys that way. And the same, throughout the whole movie, he has no real Q gadgets.
Yeah, he has none. It was
Q's in that scene with the kind of ridiculous in hindsight facial recognition part.
Yeah.
That doesn't hold up. But, yeah. It's weird how it like looks like him, and it's like, oh. Okay.
And during that whole sequence with the camera panning and showing, typical new gadget stuff. A couple of them, I was like, in what scenario would those be needed, right? Mm-hmm. Like, for instance, the umbrella that closes when you water it at the top. Like, what? Who is gonna? But why would? And my son was like, it'll happen in the rain. I'm like, shut up, get out.
It will. It'll happen in the rain.
I know.
Oh, it looks like it's about to rain. Would you like this umbrella assassination target? Oh,
right.
Yeah, sure, thanks.
Okay. Yeah, all right.
But no gadgets. The clothes he gets are like the hooks when he's climbing the mountain.
Yeah.
At the end, which is one of the, another one of the best, set pieces that they've ever done.
Yeah.
But at least Q is in it, even though he's not giving Bond so many toys this time.
And of course, Lois Maxwell was in it. She's okay.
She's
still pretty. She's still pretty, but yeah.
Well, it's kind of the same problem with Roger Moore at this point that we're really starting to see.
Oh my God!
It's the only time where he points it out when he's got that young figure skater throwing herself at him. He's like,
it was like
I'm old enough to be your grandfather.
Yeah. It was like it's the first time Bond shows some restraint. It was like, okay, at least he's not a horn dog to the point, because she was really giving it to him, and I'm sure she was legal.
She's supposed to be like 16 or something, right? Or does she say like, "Oh, I just turned 18" or something?
I don't remember what age she said she was. I mean, I know she was legal at the time she shot the movie, because I think she was 19. I think when she shot the movie, but still, I was like, yeah, you definitely saw that he was an old man next to her. I was like,
she's a little on the young side.
Yeah. And she was a professional skater too. You could before I even read up on her. So she's played by Lynn Holly, I think her name is. Lynn Holly Johnson. She plays BB. Just the way how the camera shows that she's actually skating, and then when it showed her when she was skiing with Roger Moore, who was apparently being carried by a sled or something like that, because he can't ski for shit. Yeah. And she's like keeping up with him, and she's doing these crazy tricks. I was like, oh yeah, she's probably a professional. And
knows what's up.
Yeah, and then when I clicked on it, I was like, yep, she's a professional skier. I think she did some Olympic shit or some stuff like that.
Yeah, it's definitely a case where this movie, one of its strong points is the girls. I mean, even by 007 standards.
Yeah.
Because she's, whether you like her or not, she's very different from Bond. She's like a little bit of good night, and but also, her own thing. And she's got her trainer who's kind of probably got the hots for her.
Yep.
Old lady type. But then, the main Bond girl here, Melina, who's played by
Carol Bouquet.
Yes.
Yeah.
She is fantastic.
Gorgeous, man. I like, I always like on girls, it's like sleepy eyes. Yeah, of course. That's just obvious. It's like,
We are boys. I apologize. We are boys.
but like she has these kind of sleepy eyes. Like I was like, yeah, I like those sleepy eyes. It's pretty good, you know.
Yeah, she's got the long
Oh
hair.
my god! So
Um,
she became the spokesperson for Chanel.
oh,
Or
that's funny.
it was
That
Chanel, yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, like her hair was super long, and like when they were doing the whole like behind the scenes and showing her test footage, she was just like, was like, yeah, it's mine, it's
She
mine.
knew she knew what she had.
um,
Um, and kind of most important of all, she's like never captured. Like
yes,
she kicks ass nonstop.
yep,
She
yep,
is kind of what they've been building towards a little bit with for a while, but
yeah,
especially characters like Triple X in The
yeah,
Spy Who Loved Me. She's got it's really her story and Bond's along for the ride.
mm-hmm,
He's got his own thing and it intersects with her thing. It's a little Mad Max Fury Road.
yeah. I
Um,
you know what I like too. I like that she has this a specific type of weapon that she just will use all the time. You know, it's the crossbow.
yeah,
She's like, you know, Katniss Everdeen before Katniss. You know, it's like she's
yeah,
the progenitor of all the bow and arrow wielding warriors of the modern age.
yeah.
um,
And she's there. She's just out for revenge. She doesn't
mm-hmm.
give a damn about like the computer device,
Yeah, yeah,
whatever, the KGB 007. She's like, whatever you guys are doing, I don't care.
yeah,
I'm just getting revenge. And Bond's really there, to be like the in a position that he's never been in before, to
mm-hmm.
be the older kind of wise, like, hey, maybe you should think this through.
Yeah,
When you're going out for revenge, you got to dig two graves, one for yourself.
yeah.
Um, and she's like, yeah, yeah, whatever. Uh, and the way they kind of interact throughout the movie, I think, is really one of the highlights.
Yeah. Yeah, I like her. And you know what the thing is? So her name, Melina, right? All Melinas that I've ever seen in any type of like entertainment always have this certain look, right? Like, I mean, the first Melina was Mortal Kombat. That's the first time I ever heard the name.
Yeah,
Granted, she's Katana's clone, but he only saw her from. But she had long hair and body type. Um, there's this actress named Melina that looks just like this Melina right here, and it's like, what is it with Melinas and just looking just like that? Um, yeah, so it was very. She has that exotic look, and it matches her name, Melina. I like that name. Pretty cool.
yeah.
Um,
And I think she's supposed to be Greek, but I believe the actress is French, right?
yes, the actress is French, but she's and she basically is pretty much a Elektra before Elektra, because well, not the Greek Elektra, but the Elektra in Marvel Comics.
Ah,
Um, because the Elektra in Marvel Comics is taking up on the whole revenge of my parents situation, like I guess the Greek goddess Elektra, and this one took that whole essence before Frank Miller got to it. So Ian Fleming beat him to it. Was it?
yeah.
Was it Ian Fleming? Because she was in the book, one of the short stories, right? But I don't know if she has the
There
same
is
backstory.
there is a short story, but I don't know.
I don't know if it's the
I
same character, right? Like same
I think it's
backstory.
I think it's like Moonraker, where it's like the title and maybe a couple of moments, but aside from that, it's a whole original
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah. And then you have T'Pol or Kaim Tapar, T'Pol. Is it Kaim or Chaim? Kaim. I'm going to Kaim.
I only know the T'Pol part.
Yeah, as Milos Colombo, who you thought was gonna be the villain, but it turns out that he's working with you.
Mm,
Um, and the real bad guy is Christatos, played by Julian Glover.
yeah.
What else did I know Julian Glover from? He's been in other stuff that Harry Potter.
Never
Oh,
saw it.
he's Pycelle in Game of Thrones. That's why he looked so familiar.
Was he in the last season?
He's in all the seasons. Oh no,
Okay.
he died in season, I want to say 7.
Before my time. I only
Yeah,
saw the last season.
yeah, he wasn't in the last season.
Now what I want to do is I want to watch the new Breaking Bad movie that just came out.
Oh yeah,
because I haven't watched the show.
I did. What? Don't
So I
do
feel
it.
like it'd be another way to piss off people like I did with Game of Thrones. I only watched the last season of that.
Yeah,
So
but you'll be hurting yourself too because it's a really good show. You gotta watch it. It's a really good show. Like
can, can, can I watch it without it?
because it's a 2 hour movie versus like a 6 episode thing. It might just like there's a lot of callbacks, right?
So this one is only for the fans.
Yeah, it basically plays as an epilogue to the Breaking Bad series, right? You have the prequel, which is Better Call Saul, the series, which is Breaking Bad, and this is like literally an epilogue. Like it starts from the last shot of Breaking Bad, the final episode of Breaking Bad. The last shot of that is the beginning shot of this.
Okay. I mean, I'll watch it at some point.
Yeah.
Look. Oh, Julian Glover, of course. He's General Veers in Empire Strikes Back.
Yes.
And Donovan in Indiana Jones.
Yeah. That's why his face looked so familiar when I saw him. It's like, it's like when you see actors like, where I know you from? I know you.
But he's got like a little bit of a different look. In For Your Eyes Only.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like another great example just of, how they wanted to be different from the typical Bond formula up to this point, especially the last two movies.
Yeah.
Spy Who Loved Me and where it's like from the very beginning you're like, that's obviously the bad guy.
Yeah.
So it's not a spy movie, it's an action adventure. That's the bad guy, Bond's the hero. Let's see how they beat each other up.
Yeah.
And here like they're like, let's actually do a little bit of a some plot twists that you don't always have in Bond movies, because like we said before on this podcast, the secret to their success is that they're not spy movies. They're just straight up action adventures, but with some spy elements. And every once in a while, a Bond movie is actually a spy movie.
Yeah.
And this, I'd say that some are spy movies more than Bond movies, but I'd say this is like the perfect, like, absolutely in the middle, where it's a spy movie as much as it's a Bond movie. Like, even though the action is comparatively grounded, it's still like really over the top.
Maybe that's why I had a hard time to sort of, because it's like I wasn't mentally prepared for them to try to make it a spy movie. So to kind of keep up with the characters, like, okay, I know you mentioned that character. Okay, okay. I mean, by the end, I kind of got it, but it was like for a good, I want to say an hour and 15 minutes, I was like kind of lost. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like it's another case where it's half a criticism and half just you have to go with it.
Yeah.
Like one of the problems that I have with this movie is the score by Bill Conti.
Oh my God! Yes,
and I
mentioned
love
that.
Bill Conti. Bill Conti scored Rocky. He knows what he's doing.
And
it was 1981, and he was just like, "Hey, let's do disco."
Yeah, it's I think it was the early 80s. Is the final leg of the disco craze. And
so, like,
I swear to God, it sounded like one of those porn movies I used to watch back in the days. You know what I'm saying? Literally, like, you could put this on, take out the dialogue, and he was like, "You watching porn? No, I'm watching James Bond." Close enough.
It's a very distinct score that, it's another case where you just have to. It's not bad. You just have to go with it.
Yeah.
I think I said last week that Moonraker, despite being ridiculously over the top on every level, it has a much more grounded score, much more symphonic. Forget who. Oh, it was John Barry.
Yeah, John Barry came back. Yeah.
And sometimes I wish that John Barry had come back for this.
Yeah.
And Bill Conti had scored Moonraker. I think that would be a better fit for both of them.
Yeah.
But it's
like this score was straight up synth. It was like, I don't think there was a real instrument in that score at all. Maybe I'm wrong, but like, geez, it was all electronic.
A case where the action is so over the top, despite being grounded.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, no gadgets, but still anything goes. So it kind of works on that level if you just go with it.
Yeah.
But overall, it's just a tone, an atypical tone that you just have to roll with. And if you can't, then it's hard to say it's the film, whether it's the film's fault or if it's your problem.
Yeah, yeah,
But it's like you got to go with it. You do or you don't.
yeah. And another thing that too is like is not very typical is that like the henchman, what is it, Locke? Like he just looked like a regular dude as well. It was like dude
Hmm.
with the glasses. Um,
Great, great death scene.
yeah, yeah. I think,
One of Roger Moore's most badass
and
moments.
he was very. I guess he was against that idea of him being the one to kick the car off the cliff. Like he didn't want to be as so cold blooded. I guess.
I think that's why he threw in the one-liner at the end.
Yeah.
Never did have a head for heights.
Yeah. So it's like.
But it's such a good moment because, like, you expect a Roger Moore moment
Yeah.
where he
Yeah.
throws the pin in and that's enough to make it go over.
Yeah.
But then he's just like, nah, I'm gonna kick this freaking car off a cliff.
Yep. Yep.
And it works and it's powerful and it's visceral.
Mm-hmm.
And then he has his little one-liner at the end to be like, it's almost like if you like, you can be like he gives into his rage in a way that he doesn't normally,
Mm-hmm.
and then tries to cover it up with a one-liner
Yeah.
to be like, oh no, I'm cool, I'm cool, I'm
cool. So no Ken Adams. Ken Adams wasn't around. So Peter Lamont, who I guess was still in the art department, he got upgraded to production design, and everything he did was kind of realistic. So there was no big set piece for the action, the climax. It's like it was all very muted.
Yeah, a lot of
Yeah,
I think they were aware that they didn't have Ken, so they couldn't copy him.
yeah, yeah.
So they did a lot of location
Mhm, mhm.
shoots. Like most of the action is outdoors
Yeah,
on a
yeah,
big kind of you know I'm thinking of the mountainside, of course, but also the car chase and the helicopter scene at the beginning,
yeah,
which
yeah.
we should talk about. Um, we've towed the line a little bit talking about Blofeld and how there were legal issues that kept him from appearing.
So at
And
that point, there was still legal issue. There was
yeah,
it started.
legally at that point,
They couldn't
that
use him.
character was not officially Blofeld.
Oh, okay.
They were like Blofeld. We don't talk about him.
Yeah.
So in like after I believe Skyfall, when they did get the rights back and with one merger or another, they did say, "Oh yeah, that was actually Blofeld," and then we
Yeah.
were all like, "Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
You rebooted it though, so like whatever." Um, but yeah, that scene. Basically, the idea was we've got like this shadow of Blofeld over all of the movies up to this point
Yeah.
because he survives his last appearance.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to use him for The Spy Who Loved Me, but we couldn't, so we had not Blofeld. And then in Moonraker, we also had not Blofeld.
Yeah.
And so they were like, let's do something that will get rid of Blofeld in like a semi-canon way that like is a wink wink,
Yeah.
you know exactly what we're doing kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
Not have to do a whole movie about it, but also establish that Bond is not a code name
Yeah.
and that they're all the same guy.
Yeah.
So that scene was written for Timothy Dalton. The very first scene of For Your Eyes Only was written for Timothy Dalton.
Yeah.
And the idea, it was supposed to be the idea that even though it's a different actor, it's still the same person. He was married to Tracy,
Yeah.
and she is dead. And so that's why that first scene is him going to Tracy's grave.
Mm-hmm.
It's Roger Moore, even though wasn't George Lazenby.
Mm-hmm.
And then he gets attacked one last time by Blofeld, who may or may not be down on his luck and just looking for revenge, and he's got that neck brace.
Yeah, it was like
injured many times by Bond.
Yeah.
And he's like, I've got you, I've got you now. He's my one last thing. And then Bond is able to turn the tables and gets, really cathartic, almost peaceful revenge.
Mm-hmm.
Being like, oh my God, I have the power over you now. I'm going to do the thing that you never did. which is just kill the shit out of you right now.
Yeah.
I'm
Just
gonna drop you down a
drop in the
tube.
tunnel.
Uh,
Put me
you,
down. You sure you want to do
you
that?
want to go down?
Yeah.
And of
uh,
course, they have to add the little whistle sound effect or whatever. But um, but yeah, that's such a great scene. I mean, though those stunts are insane. You know, it's one of those things where you're like, it doesn't look that crazy, but then you think about it for a second, you're like, whoa, they're just flying a helicopter right next to buildings and
yeah.
stuff. Like that is so dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's
Yeah,
it's
it was a cool image, cool opening sequence. So this movie was shot on a budget of 28 million, which was a couple of million less than the last movie, Moonraker.
well, they didn't have to go to
Yeah,
space.
and it didn't make as much as I think Moonraker made 210. This only made 195, but it's still, hey, it's still a
Yeah,
lot of money.
and Moonraker was huge. You know, it's like people who said that Spectre was a bomb
Yeah,
because it didn't do what
Skyfall
Skyfall
did.
did.
Yeah,
I mean, that, and you know, by normal metrics, that's not the case. You know, it's not a bomb. It was almost a bomb because the budget got so out of control, but that's
yeah,
another story. But here, you know, they lowered the budget. They were like, you know, let's because we're not going to have laser beams and you
yeah,
know all that
yeah.
stuff. We don't necessarily need to spend quite as much money, so let's actually make it a little bit less. Let's not try to one up, because if you try to one up, that's how you wind up sending Bond to space in the first place.
Yeah.
And you know, once you do something like that, once you send Bond to space, the next one has to go the other direction.
Yeah, because there's no where. I mean, where else would you go? Go to hell. Bond goes to hell.
Bond fights Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they went the other direction. They were like, let's have a comparatively more grounded, still an action extravaganza.
Mm-hmm.
Still, you know, so much fun, so many things, people falling off mountains, and just super cool stuff.
Yeah.
But let's have it not be tonally as ridiculous as Moonraker.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you don't need to spend that money, and you know, you still make a ton of money because Bond is adaptable. You know, because if you send Bond to space 2 or 3 times in a row, you get bored with it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go back and forth and back and forth, then you know, that's just Bond. We're into that.
Yeah. So another thing too, when the Lotus first showed up in what was the movie? It was yeah. I thought, oh, it's just for that movie, but it's like, wait, I guess the Lotus is a thing. But they blew it up in this movie. But it looks like they were about to replace it with the brown one. It was like, is that a replacement? But he didn't drive it. I was like, oh, they're teasing you. Do we get the do we get the Lotus again?
No, I believe once it blew up, it never came back together.
Yeah, it was like he just blew that shit up.
Well, hey, Q, if you wanted him to bring his equipment back in one piece, maybe don't have a self-destruct that blows it up.
When that happened, I was like, that was extreme. Like, was, you know what I'm saying? How does that help Bond, right? It's like, you blew his car up. There's no way to escape. Like,
there's probably varying levels. Like, he probably put it on like security level 10.
Yeah.
Well, like, what's so good, it kind of reminds me of Tomorrow Never Dies.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get to that, but he has his car parked, his ugly, disgusting 4-door BMW, which we'll get to. But like, hey, let's give Bond a dad car, like pre-divorce dad car,
right?
But anyway, you know, he's got the security on that, and people are trying to get into it, and like when they touch the handle, it electrocutes them.
Yeah.
And like they try to shoot it, but everything just bounces off. It's like impregnable.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, well, maybe instead of blowing up our car, let's make it impregnable.
Yeah.
That's smarter. Let's do that.
Yeah, man. So what else about this movie? Oh, so I know we touched on it a little bit, but just circling back to the ladies here for a second. So he had 3 ladies in this movie, but he rejected one out of the 2. I was like, what? They're trying to say he matured. So and it didn't Melina took a while to, I guess, warm her heart a little bit, which is good. The Countess, um, I guess she was deep, but she was, you know what it is? She was, she was age appropriate to the point where she just knew. She was like Bond. She was like, we know what this is. Let's get it on. She didn't feel
Yeah.
naive. She didn't have that naivete look about her. It was just more like, I'm an adult. You're an adult. Let's do this. I
Yeah.
kind of was. I appreciated that about it, and
Yeah. They had a good dynamic.
then her death. I felt bad. I felt bad about it. It was like she got run down like a hard death too. It was like, I think that's one of the, I guess, worst death for most of the Bond chicks. Can you remember the ones before that? There's a skin suffocation, which is not a thing apparently. In
Well, it was
Goldfinger.
when they drowned Plenty O'Toole in Diamonds Are Forever. That
Right.
was very bad.
Yeah, yeah. But we that was off screen though, so it doesn't really
Yeah,
we
at
didn't really
least.
see, and the gold thing too is off screen as well. We didn't see her getting tortured, but like to see this, like the car just runs her down in the
Yeah, it really
head hit
does.
like bam. It's like, oh my god. It's like, yeah, they showed that shit. um yeah. Like, so to me, so what did you think of? You thought it was this
Oh,
is
I love this
you
movie.
love this,
It's funny because it's one that I didn't love as much when I was a kid,
right?
but now it's kind of really the perfect fusion of like the campy whatever Bond that people are overly dismissive of, in my opinion,
Yeah, yeah.
and like the more serious, darker Bond. People always yell at Roger Moore because his Bond didn't have as much character,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, no, 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 he had the character. It just wasn't always in the script.
Right.
Like that's what acting is for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And like, I think he's a really underrated Bond actor. I think Pierce Brosnan is also a very underrated Bond actor because the scripts wouldn't necessarily have like, oh, here's the part where Bond is pensive and explains his motivations and talks about how much he hates women and then Blofeld's his brother and blah 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 blah. But there'd be moments in this movie and in Pierce Brosnan movies
Mm-hmm.
where he sees the consequences of things that he does, and he's just like, oh boy,
Yeah.
what a thing I've done. Um, and that's acting.
Yeah.
That's still the character, and it's not. It's good, and it
You,
doesn't need to be so overt as to hit you in the back of the head.
it's funny. It's funny you mentioned that. I was thinking about it the other day, right? Where you had these sort of like explanation scenes, and like for instance, I know we're skipping ahead to Casino Royale, where you had M sort of giving this whole thing to Bond about his relationship with women or whatever, where it was like kind of your head, and then it made me realize something. So these movies didn't really have to explain that because it was like it was embedded in the character in the beginning. When I think once we hit the 2000s, the aughts and the tens, the 2010s, it was all about shedding a light on the stuff we used to love back in the days. Like, you remember the stuff, like talking about it, right? It's like, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the things you used to love and try to shed a light on it, explain it a little bit. We went through that. I think we're kind of cutting that off now because it's becoming a little bit too ham-fisted, where we're going back to subtlety and more nuanced performances, both in the script and I guess in the acting. But like for a good chunk of time, it was all about sort of like explaining the things that we used to love, explaining the things that how we used to be, and like it all rolled up in the whole nostalgia bomb of like Stranger Things and stuff of the 80s. But then you would also reflect on that. And I think that's what, like, if you watch the movies now, like the Casino Royale, it was like, yeah, that was really, you know, you're hitting us in the head with that. But I think it was just made, kind of forgive it because it was made in the era where I think a lot of these filmmakers wanted to break shit down, right? You know, and sometimes they do it well, sometimes they clumsily do it. But I think again, it was on that era. So I was just thinking about that where in the early Bond movies, you don't really see too much explaining, right? It was just like,
Mm.
hey, that's what it is, right? Yeah. So
I
yeah.
blame Nolan.
Yeah.
You either die the hero or live long enough to see
See
yourself
yourself
become
become
the
the
villain.
villain.
Yeah. Oh, I get it, but like, in case I didn't get it, maybe say it 3 more times in the movie.
Yeah.
Ugh. I mean, I love that movie,
Uh-huh.
obviously,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes I think about the people got the wrong messages from that.
No, don't blame Nolan
I
because
blame Nolan. I mean, I blame Mendez for taking the
Casino
wrong message.
Royale started before.
I know, and Casino Royale is so good.
Casino Royale was the same year as the first Batman, right?
Oh no, it
No,
was the
no, no,
year
year
after,
after,
but
year after.
it was inspired by.
Yes,
But
that's
like
right.
what works so well in Casino Royale, which we'll get to, is
So,
that it lets the character act
yeah,
instead of the script telling the audience what to feel.
I guess it is Nolan's fault because yes, Batman Begins did so well. It's like let's do James Bond year one. Yes.
And James Bond Year One, Casino Royale, is very good, and so is gotta say, Quantum of Solace.
Yeah.
I like that movie more and more every time I see it. Um, and I like Skyfall less and less every time I see it because, like, you see the lessons that you learn from Nolan, and
Uh-huh.
they're applied so well in Casino Royale. Less well, but still, in Quantum of Solace, it's a direct sequel to Casino Royale, and it
Yeah.
works on that level. You can see the arc that Bond is going through of learning to hate women.
Yeah.
Like, it's really dark.
Uh-huh.
But like, you can tell that he doesn't, he has a brush with it when he, has sex with the lady on the beach and then she dies in Casino Royale, where he's like, oh, I did that, but I don't feel that bad about it because it was my job. That's interesting. What an interesting feeling I'm having.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he gets Strawberry Fields killed, he's like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And like dresses him down and like, slaps him around a bit for it. And he's like, all right, I'm sorry, jeez. and then Skyfall just completely abandons that and just like goes right into like a postmodern version of Sean Connery or something where everything is explained in there's no subtext, it's all text, and it's just,
Again, it was the time. It's the times, man. It was the times. It was the
so
time.
mad. And then
But
this movie, oh my god, For Your Eyes Only, so
you know,
good.
I every time I did a rewatch of the Craig movies, I always pretended, right? And I know hindsight is 2020, but if someone gave me the permission to re-edit Quantum of Solace and Casino Royale, I would take off the last 20 minutes off of Casino Royale and put it at the beginning of Quantum of Solace.
It's like
Like,
Casino Royale has like a comparatively much happier ending.
yeah. Like, so Casino Royale ends after Le Chiffre dies, and you kind of end it where,
In the hospital.
at the hospital where he reunites with Vesper and then sort of end it
Live
there.
happily ever after.
And then you begin it with him finding out that Vesper is not who she says she is, and then that whole pre-credit sequence is the Venice thing. After she dies and blah blah blah, you have the
Yeah.
or would you no? But that would be the longest pre-credit sequence ever.
Well, they had. I think the world is not enough is like 20 minutes.
Oh, okay. So then, yeah. So the prequel sequence would be him shooting Mr. White. That's his name, right?
Yeah,
In the
yeah.
leg, and it's Bond, James Bond. The credit sequence, and then it starts with him being chased.
Yeah, the only thing that wouldn't work about that though is just that the style of those two movies. The biggest weakness of Quantum of Solace. It's
Right.
got a couple of weaknesses, but the biggest one is just that Mark Forster is not a good action director,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and he got the second unit director from The Bourne Supremacy to do the action,
Right.
and it just so different from the action in Casino, and then later in
Well,
Skyfall, where they got Alexander Witt to do second unit.
yeah. But then that's what I'm saying. It's like the action, the set piece that you'd see in the beginning, if you took that 20 minutes off, would be just the Venice, which not really much action other than once they got into that old
No,
building
and
and
that's
shuts.
and that's a great action scene.
Right.
It's it's that for your eyes only style of like
But
it's
isn't it
comparatively stripped down, but we
yeah.
still have like barrels exploding and a building literally coming down.
Yeah. But then wouldn't
Like
you
it's grounded, it's scaled down, but
yeah.
we're still blowing up buildings.
Yeah, but would you compare it to like that last scene in last action sequence in Quantum of Solace where they're in another building and it's blowing up? He did that great. I think that was a great sequence where
It's
that.
good.
So that's what I'm saying. I don't know. That's what I say. When I watch him, I always pretend this is where Quantum of Solace begins because Quantum of Solace, what I always hated about that movie, it's the shortest Bond movie ever.
Needed room to breathe.
It's like an hour and what 40 minutes, right? And it's
Something
like
like that.
from the beginning, it's like all act. It feels like it's all action. Um, while if you did put the Casino Royale in the beginning, you felt more emotionally attached. You see why the Vesperlin's death would have been in the beginning, and you'll have that through line of him sort of going through this emotional change, more for an arc, and then of course it comes back at the end of Quantum of Solace, right, where Stana Katic, her
Yeah.
character
Yeah, I
comes
always
back,
forget that she's in it.
where she is the new Vesperlin, and he's warning her about not getting involved with these people because of what
Mm-hmm.
happened with Vesper. So yeah, yeah. So yeah, enough. We'll get to it. We'll get to those movies. Um, One thing
Yeah,
I
I'd say on the whole, with For Your Eyes Only,
yeah
the it's a little inconsistent, a little tonally bouncy.
yeah
It goes in a few different places, but I think it all comes together in a pretty cohesive way. I think the story is good, the spy twists are memorable, and like especially the whole flipped identity of the villains
yeah
makes it good to watch a second
yeah
time.
yeah
Where you can be like, oh, he's actually the villain. Uh-huh.
yeah. That's what I'm
Uh,
saying. I probably just wasn't mentally prepared for them to actually
mm.
do a spy movie, and I was like, wait, oh, huh? And then
and,
at the
and
end,
the
I got it.
action is so good. Some probably the best action scenes in Roger Moore's tenure.
Yeah.
I mean, the skiing is
Uh-huh.
fantastic. You got the cow looking at him as he goes
And
by.
I guess the reason why I wasn't so surprised, impressed, I guess, by the action sequence, even though they look good, it's like it's basically they learned everything from past movies, and they're taking the sequence from past movies, and it's like it's better, it's like more pristine. But the thing is, I've seen him, you know what I mean? Like yeah, you mentioned the ski scene. It was like it's straight up on Our Majesty Secret Service. You've seen it. It's just a better done version, I guess. I mean,
Yeah.
I shouldn't. I'm almost a hypocrite because I like Ghostbusters 2 more than I like 1, but it's just 2 is just a bigger budget version of 1.
Okay.
But I
I mean,
like 2.
I like Honor Majesty's better than this, but
Yeah.
like some of the actions,
Yeah.
I mean, that was Peter Hunt. He was on a whole other level from
Right.
what mere mortals can comprehend.
Right.
But we did forget to mention one last person who appears in this, Walter Gotell as General Gogol, who's starting to get old. I don't
Right.
think it's his last appearance. I think he actually appears in one of the Timothy. I think he appears in License The Living Daylights.
Okay.
I think I'm not 100% sure,
Mm-hmm.
but I think he does. But he's got a great little tiny role in this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he even has any lines. But when Bond's got the ATAC,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, "All right, give it to me, or else all my guys will kill you."
Yeah.
And then he's like, and then he breaks it, and he's like, "Hey, you don't have it, I don't have it,
Yeah.
detente."
Oh, and
Uh,
M as well is new. Well, he was in the previous movies, but
yeah, it's
Bert,
Robert Brown now,
yeah,
who
um,
may or may not be the same character that he was in The Spy Who Loved Me. I like to think that he
let's
is.
just say yes. Let's just say
My head
yes.
canon.
Yeah, I mean they changed M in the movies canonically. Like, okay, he's replacing me twice, you know, because Judy Dench came on in Golden Eye.
Yep,
Yes. And I think she's supposed to replace who this guy is. Who's this?
Robert Brown.
Yeah, Robert Brown. She's supposed to replace him, right? She's his replacement. Was his replacement? Is his replacement? Or was there another M after that?
After this, I believe there might be a different one in License to Kill,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not 100% confirmed on that.
Right. So, but we had her, and then Ray finds
Boo.
he takes over as M.
Sorry, it was a reflex.
Yeah, I know.
It really was.
I still can't get over the fact though, like they said we're gonna do a reboot. Let's just bring back Judy Dench. It was like
That's the best way to do
it
it.
was like, oh shit, I mean, Marvel just did it technically with what's his name, Simmons, J.K. Simmons as
Oh yeah.
yeah. They're just like it's a reboot, but fuck it, we're
There's
not
some,
gonna get any better.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think as a character, they were like, as a character, we do want to do stuff with her.
Yeah.
We got some unfinished business. We don't want to let it. You got to have those connections to the past.
Yeah.
And you can do them with like having that actor instead of having like a scene where like I don't know where like they're in the DB5
Mm-hmm.
and she's being annoying and he's like putting his hand over the ejection seat button and like you're watching it and you're like haha I see what he's doing. He's like making a little joke and then she has to go, oh, eject me, see if I care. And then you're like, all right, we know. All right, why'd you have to put that in the script, Sam? God damn it, Sam. Damn it, Sam.
But you know what though? That I think that was the reason why a lot of people thought Bond was a code name because of that. Because she transferred over.
Yeah. It's not though.
Yeah.
and we'll see how well that sounds on the Blue Yeti. Me having a sudden outburst.
Yeah, it's probably deafening. No, I'm just kidding. It's fine. It sounds fine because I didn't hear it. It wasn't deafening in here.
My light went red for a second when I did that.
And what else? There was something else too. Oh, I mean, it's not Bond related, but I also said I almost want them to do that with Hugh Jackman for X-Men, but I know they won't. They're like, fuck it.
I don't know. There's a chance. There's a chance.
Let's just bring him in.
I do believe that there's a chance. I believe that if they, at the very least, they could do something where, Crisis on Infinite Earth style, bring in a character from a different universe, and he's like, "What am I doing here?"
I mean,
old man, like they dabbled with Old Man Logan in Logan, but he wasn't like that old.
No.
But like actually give him like old man makeup and like let him be Old Man Logan.
Like the only reason I would see them not wanting to bring in Hugh to be Wolverine again is I mean, he's up there, and if you want to do like another 10 years worth of movies, yeah, you're not gonna, you know, might as well go with somebody else that's younger. But
Yeah, and
anyway,
I think a lot of fans don't want him to be there just because they know that if he is, he's going to take up all the attention.
yeah, yeah,
But hey, Dark Phoenix and Apocalypse didn't do so well, and what did they not have?
yeah. Wolverine was the least of their problem. Lack of Wolverine was the least of their problems.
I still haven't seen Dark Phoenix.
I
I
haven't.
will. I will soon.
I haven't seen it yet. It's not on the same basis of Fantastic Four, but I'm not in a hurry to see Dark Phoenix.
Got Jessica Chastain. I love her.
Yeah.
She's sweet.
Yeah,
She seems nice.
I'm just not in a hurry, and it's just one of those things like, should I?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
It's a grand finale.
So, is there anything else we can say about For Your Eyes Only? Good movie. Was hard to follow at times. Hard to follow. I will admit there was because of its very grounded nature and the lack of, I guess, familiar tropey looking villains. It took a while to realize who the main villain was, but and otherwise it's a decent. I guess this is the first of the.
I clearly like it more than you do.
Yeah. This is the first of the grounded Bond, I guess. Because does it get weirder after that? Because I don't remember View to Kill. I don't remember Living Daylights. I don't remember.
Octopussy. We'll see with Octopussy next week that it's a little column A, a little column B.
Okay.
It's that Venn diagram right in the middle.
And I think we have to watch 2 movies for the next podcast, right?
Oh God. Oh shit. I have to watch Never Say Never Again, don't I?
Yeah.
All right.
The thing is,
I'll do it for you, Mark. I'll do it for you.
The thing is, because remember I had brought it up when we were about to watch Thunderbolts. Maybe should we watch it? Because I wanted to see the difference if the plot is the same or because right now I guess I have to refresh my memory of what happens in Thunderball. Thunderball was the water with the battle underwater, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Guess what? Never Say Never Again doesn't have.
The battle underwater.
Those have Black Felix though. That's cool.
Oh, it's the first time they did the Black Felix.
First time we get Black Felix.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll be. It's gonna be to be fair, to keep it a James Bond retrospective, it'll be primarily about Octopussy.
Maybe we can have a bonus podcast or something.
But like, just mention.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll. It'll be the Battle of the Bonds for that year.
Battle of the Bonds.
It's funny. I'm thinking of starting up this video feature called Versus, where it's about movies that came out the same year that have similar plot lines, or similar subject, and I think probably I'll make that one of them. I don't have it on my list yet. I have a list. I have what's that movie?
Armageddon: Deep Impact.
I have that. I have Friends with Benefits versus No Strings Attached. Came out the same year, same subject.
What's the deal with Michael Bay naming Transformers movies after better movies?
Oh,
Age of Extinction, Age of Ultron, The Last Night, The Last Jedi.
Well,
weird.
Last Night came first, didn't it?
They both came out first, but I believe the titles were already known.
Yeah. What else? Oh, The Raid versus Judge Dredd.
Ah, that's a good one.
Yeah. And I put this one, which I just found out about today because I was looking at what other films John Glenn did. So he did this movie called Christopher Columbus, The Discovery, which came out the same year as 1942, directed by Ridley Scott. And Ridley Scott version did better than this one, and his version
1492.
What did I say? 1942.
1942.
Jesus Christ, dyslexia
like,
over here.
Where did you take history class?
Yeah. 1492. What is it? Conquest of Paradise.
I don't know. I haven't seen either movie.
So yeah, I'll watch. I haven't seen either of them either, so I'm gonna watch them to see what the big deal was. I think what they said about the one that John Glenn did, it broke up the relationship between Alexander and Erie. Um, the father and son production partners that did Superman movies.
The Salkinds.
Yes. Like this broke them up. They were like, "Fuck you, fuck you."
Good. Screw them. They ruined Superman 2.
I liked the Lester version better than the.
Well, it's not even a fair comparison because neither version was finished.
Yeah, right.
You know,
like the best version is if you combine scenes. Like I hated Richard Donner's ending.
right? Because it wasn't the ending he would have used.
Yeah.
He used the ending that he had planned for 2. He used it for 1 and was like, "I'll come up with an ending for 2 later."
Yeah.
And then never did because he was fired.
Yeah.
And then when it came time to do the Donner cut, he wasn't. They didn't want to shoot significant new material.
Yeah, but why didn't they just put? Because I was looking at ways where you could edit in Lester's. That's his name, right? Richard Lester.
Yeah. Well, they wanted to use as little Lester footage as they could. Like, there is some that's in it, but they wanted it to be 100, as close to 100% Donner as they could.
Yeah.
Even if it makes Superman Returns non-canon.
Oh right.
Because Superman Returns has the sex.
Yeah.
Super sex.
So yeah, I was recently, maybe not recently, I would say fairly recently, like maybe like late last year or something, I started watching, or maybe it was early this year. I was like, you know what? I have a nostalgia for Superman. That's how I ended up watching Superman Returns again from Bryan Singer, which was, surprisingly holds up. It was a really good movie. People need to give it another shot.
It's on Netflix. I was actually thinking of watching it again.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it since I saw it in the movies, 2006.
You should. It's a really good movie. I liked it. It got a bad rap because it was very derivative, and people just wanted to see him punch more people. But
yeah, I remember really that. Good. Superman will throw a punch in Man of Steel. It'll be great. Really.
But I was watching. I started to say, you know what? Let me watch Richard Donner cut. And I was like, this fucking shit is boring. Eject. I put in Richard Lester's version, and it was like, this is more like it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, because like he didn't do the scene. You know where I cut it? Where Lois decided that how she wants Superman to discover that she knows who he is.
And she shoots him.
Right, but I think because in Richard Donner's version, did she jump in the water and he just pretended not to know? No, that was Lester's version, right?
Yeah, Lester's version is where she jumps in the water.
Yeah.
Richard Donner's version, she shoots him.
Yeah, she shoots. I was like, yeah, that's where I cut it, where she shoots him and was like, what? No!
I think she was right.
I put it in Lester's version just to see those, because he's like, she's trying to get him, and he's like, to pretend that he's not Superman. He's like, Lois, hold on. And then he does the I-beam thing to get the branch down, and she was like, I really thought you were Superman, and she really felt bad. But then, while they were drying off, and then he trips and he drops in the fire, and then she's like, oh, let me see your hand, and he was like, you really are Superman. That was so much sequence in between that happened versus like, it's like, yes, get out of here, Richard Donner. I don't know, I'm probably in the minority on this one to like.
Oh, there's fans of both versions.
And Richard Donner's version doesn't have, man, that's a bad suit. That's not in Donner's version.
That's Superman 1. Right?
No, that was in the suit seat. Oh, was it?
I believe it's when he saves Lois in the helicopter.
Oh, it is right.
Yeah, that's New York City, baby.
Yeah, because I'm thinking of the scene where the Kryptonians are blowing people away and man,
Yeah,
shit is
no,
happening.
that's not that. That's Superman 1. It's when he saves. I'm 90% sure it's when he saves Lois from the helicopter, and it's just like the bystander
Okay.
in the pimp suit going, man, that's a bad suit.
Yeah.
Like that's you know, that's it's so good because it's like the 70s, especially in New York City, which that Metropolis is based on,
Uh-huh.
obviously. Um, it's like, it's weird. It's weird that Superman's flying around in a realistic New York City.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, but like it's weird, but it's also inspiring. And like
Mhm.
people see him and they're like, he's weird. I want to be him.
Mhm. Mhm.
Even like, the pimp guy.
But yeah, there was a lot of comedic stuff in that last act of Superman, the Lester version, that wasn't in Donna's version. Oh, the guy with the phone when he was like, I mean, I know it's ridiculous when he's on the
Yeah.
phone and it's like, yeah, 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 and he's getting blown away. Yeah, I was like, I
Mm.
love that
And
stuff when he was
the
a kid.
ice cream and
Oh man. Sue me,
But
okay?
anyway,
All right, so I think that wraps up for your eyes only. So the next episode would be Octopussy with a little bit of Never Say Never Again, um, because it was the Battle of the Bonds.
okay, we're gonna do another game where you're gonna have to guess if this is an actual quote from the movie. You ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, get off my bed.
Okay. All
There you
right.
go.
All right. All right.
So, is it an actual quote from the movie? What's your instant guess?
Yes, because it would be something that you wouldn't think Bond would say if it's Bond. I'm not sure who said it. Get off my
Okay.
bed.
Okay. Okay.
So let's
Okay.
see. Let's see.
Let's see. Let's see. Tune in next week to find the answer.
Yeah. All right. So you can reach me at Pop Culture Galaxy on Facebook and Instagram. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and that like and that notification bell and all that jazz. Where can people reach you, Zach?
You can find me on Twitter and on Instagram. On Instagram at ZAKWOJ, and on Twitter at my name, Zach Wojner. And you can read my work on screenrant.com.
All right. So drop a comment down below. So till next time, folks, I want to say peace.
Indeed. Like and subscribe. Ring the bell.
Yeah.